What up, y'all? This is your Don Israel coming to you live from Lit, asking y'all to subscribe to the channel. So make sure y'all subscribed, make sure y'all liking the videos, make sure y'all commenting, and make sure you turn on your notifications that let you know when new videos are dropping. We're dropping them daily, and you want to be on it because we on it, all right? So keep it lit, keep it locked, subscribe, we out. Marduce is a dream. What's going on, y'all? This is your boy, your Don Israel, aka Liddy Fontaine. Pretty Liddy's what they call me. And we're back with another episode of Lit, the premier platform for all things literary, swaggy, and everything in between. Today's guest is a special guest, one of my dopest friends. I was gonna say closest, but I actually don't know him as well as I would like to. But we about to learn him right now. My man Jason Diamond pulled up. Thank you for coming through, brother.
Thank you.
You know,
this is so good.
Yeah, this is a Chicago native. Skokie, Illinois native, so I had to represent with the Chicago Bulls outfit for him. And we're going to be talking about his book, In Search of John Hughes. We're going to be talking about Jordans, one of my favorite conversations. We're going to talk about other shit and 80s movies, right?
Yeah.
So in honor of that, I brought out my Gucci sunglasses because I want to pull out like a little Weekend at Bernie's look. So
that's good.
I might be, comatose half this interview, but it'll be all right.
We were just talking about like that's actually a pretty deeper movie than we thought.
Yeah.
It's not just like a comedy. You watch that movie and you're like, this guy's dead.
Yeah.
Nobody realizes that.
I should just sit here like this the whole time. But walk us through the fit, because you came swaggy with these loafers. I think the loafers is the highlight. I think this is like probably top 10 outfits of Lit right now.
Oh, damn.
So you got to stand up. You got to walk us through.
Yeah, I mean the loafers, they're Ben Sherman's.
Okay.
They're like a pair of Gucci's, but whatever.
Yeah.
And the shirt is Steve Allen.
Okay.
I'm kind of like a broad guy, so
Yeah.
this stuff fits me.
Okay.
And then the jeans are Levi's.
Okay. 501s?
510s.
510s. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought.
That's
Dyslexic with the numbers.
And then the hat's this like bougie hotel in Chicago. They sent it to me, and I'm like, that's a nice hat.
Bougie hotel. What's the watch? That's a nice watch.
Oh, that's a Shinola.
Woo!
Yeah.
Detroit. I mean, the watch is like $700.
It was a wedding gift or anniversary gift, so
That's
my wife felt like I earned it.
It's time to do this Marduce thing. You've seen enough episodes. I ain't got to tell you nothing.
Yeah. You just go in.
You just go in.
Do it.
Pop the top.
That's
right.
Nice.
Cooling.
Take a little sip.
Yeah, you know.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. Thank you for being on Lit.
Oh yeah, that's the stuff.
I think you're like one of the only people besides me that like has had a strong affinity for Martinelli's.
One of my first jobs when I moved to New York was at a coffee shop, and this guy who basically like did all the cleaning downstairs would come up, and he'd always just crack one open, and he'd say Martinelli's. And it was like the pop and just that response to it.
Yeah.
I always kind of felt like there was something really comforting about that. And I was like, I'm going to try. I'm going to see why he's so into it. And I took a sip of one. I'm like, that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm not like a big apple juice fan, but I love Martinelli's.
Nah, Martinelli's it's a different apple juice, man. It's like $2 a bottle, and it's very worth the price.
It's 100% gold medal.
That's what they said. That's what they said. So
L'chaim. Let's do that. Yeah, that's good.
That's smooth.
That's nice.
So
that's autumn. It tastes like autumn.
So talk to us, man. Give us the background of where you grew up. I know you grew up in Illinois, but paint the picture for people who don't know who Jason Diamond is.
Well, I was born in Skokie, Illinois, which I tell people, I'm like, if you're in Chicago, you go a little bit north, right over the border, and then kind of to the west.
Right.
You're in Skokie. And when I was a kid, Skokie was called the world's biggest village. I think that was the tagline.
What?
Because it was a village and it had tons of people. But it was like when I was a kid, it was mostly made up of Holocaust survivors, Soviet Jews, and immigrants from like just all over. It was everybody. And it was a nice place. And, my family life was pretty rough growing up. And when I was a little bit older, my family finally moved to like the straight up suburbs. And it was kind of like culture shock. And at the same time, I'd started watching these movies by John Hughes and kind of realized that they were all made in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like right away, I'm just like, oh, I know where this is. This is all, I know where that is. I know where that is. And
Yeah.
So I started kind of like thinking like that's what life kind of should look like. And I just sort of it was like, escapism. Everything we do, we read, we watch, we listen to, it's escapism. And that was my like first real and it's still lasting to this day. Like I still take stuff from those movies. I'm like, I wish my life could be a little bit more like that.
Yeah. So when I read the book, I was reading the book. One of the most interesting things was like learning that even for people who live what would look like to like, me being a poor black kid from Brooklyn, that you weren't even living the life that if I'm looking at your life from the outside in, I'm like, man, you live in the Ferris Bueller life. But I thought was dope about the book was that you were showing that how close you were to the films, like geographically, but like how far you were from them in your reality.
Yeah. And
like kind of juxtaposing the movies plots against your own plot. That's like so unlike. Like you talk about your pops and your moms arguing. Talked about the beatings.
Yeah.
I had a few of those too. I mean, I think a lot of people grew up at least. I was born 90, so you got me about 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
But just that backdrop of like how I thought like, and a lot of people who watch those movies think like, especially like you're a black kid, you like, man, white people got it made.
Yeah.
They live in the suburbs, fucking Ferris Bueller cutting school, doing parades and shit.
Everybody's smiling at each other. Everything's so clean.
Yeah. And so like you definitely subvert that whole narrative. Now, how did the idea for the book? Like, what was the genesis of this book as a book?
Well, as a book, I kind of had this moment in my life where I just felt like I was screwing up just everything. Like, I just didn't feel like I was going anywhere as a writer again. As a writer, I didn't feel like my like day job was like making me happy, and I just kind of started dwelling on this one time that I was like, what was the time most recently that I felt like the lowest? And I was like, I spent 5 years when I moved to New York. I thought to become a writer, I could maybe figure out how to write John Hughes' biography. And that would be like my ticket into like being a writer.
Yeah.
And after 5 years of just this like really just screwing up left and right and, not making that happen, I just kind of gave up. And I remember just feeling so low for so long about that. I'm like, that was pretty bad. That was a pretty bad time. So that was worse than right now. And I just kind of started thinking about it. I'm like, maybe there's a way to write about how failing and like screwing up and these things kind of, it makes us who we are. And you gotta kind of have to admit these things. And I wanted to do that. And then the editor we went with was like, I want to hear about your whole life. And I was like, oh man, I don't know if anybody wants to hear about my whole life.
Yeah.
And then I started to think about it. I'm like, it kind of makes sense. And like what you were saying about the suburbs, like, I like John Cheever. I like...
Oh yeah, John Cheever, the fucking dark.
Yeah.
The suburbs is dark when he writes about them.
I like that kind of stuff because, the suburbs are a dark place.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't trying to, like, be part of that. But I was like, if you're going to present the suburbs and you're going to talk about this guy who presented the suburbs as this, like, really happy, nice, clean, everything's, like, safe kind of place.
Yeah.
I think you got to talk about the flip side of that and be like, listen, it's not like that.
Right.
Everywhere.
And it was also, I think you explored this in the book, how like those movies were also operating as a certain sense of propaganda. Like, as you're reading the films, you're one of the things you constantly say, like we're made to believe that this is that the plot of these movies are what happens in real life, based on like some of the like the way like you describe, I think Pretty in Pink, or I think it's 16 Candles, because Molly Ringwald was in both of them. Yeah. She was like big in like the 80s. She was Breakfast Club. She was like that generation's Beyonce. Like if it was anything hot, she was on it.
Yeah.
And so you talked about I think which one is it where like Ducky, which is the character Ducky?
That's Pretty in Pink.
And you talk about Ducky's supposed to end up with Andy.
Yeah.
But he ends up with...
Originally in the movie, like they had it where he ends up with her, where Ducky ends up with her. Then they took it to the test audiences, and the test audiences were like, "No, we want her to end up with Andrew McCarthy,
right?
Who's a jerk."
Yeah,
and she ends up with him, and that's how they wanted the really happy ending. They didn't want the geeky guy to get her, and Ducky's kind of a weird character to begin with. Like he's really pushy and thinks he kind of like deserves her,
right?
So there's a lot of like problematic stuff there, but
the nice guy,
the nice guy,
the nice guy.
But I don't know, like it's that. It's like everything has a happy ending. And I like that. I actually, the world isn't a happy place. There's a lot of bad stuff happening all the time, but I do like this idea. I mean, I don't want to be morbid, but we're going to die. That's the end of the story.
I don't think that's morbid at all. That's like a fact.
Yeah, it's a fact of life. And I always look at it, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I still want to go to sleep and be like, today I can say I had somewhat of a happy ending today for this day. And that's, I think, you strip away all the propaganda, all the weird, everything from his movies. I think at the end of the day, all of his movies a lot of his movies are like trying to like have that perfect, like Ferris Bueller is definitely about trying to have that perfect day.
Yeah.
And a lot of those movies do take place around a day or 2 or 3 days. And I like that. That's a nice kind of positive thing to think about.
So let me ask you, like, this transition, and I think a lot of this book also deals with like adolescence and like that just frustrating time where you're sort of like growing, but you're in a static space, right? And so one of the things that happens in the book, what happens in your real life is like your mother, like around like, year 16, she decides like she's moving to South Carolina. And she's like, I'm off this. She's like, you could come if you want to, but I'd rather you not. That's exactly what you said. And by this time, your pops, they had divorced. Your pops is wherever. Yeah. And she hits you with that. Like, not even, because you talk about how that made you feel, but it was just like, how have you since sort of reconciled that moment in your life for yourself? How have you like understood what happened at that place?
I don't know. I think about it a lot. I know, like, talk about books all the time, but I mean, I think the books that I read growing up.
This people just like, they fucking stomp.
I love that. No, but I think like a lot of like the weird books that I read growing up, it kind of prepared me for something like kind of like it looked at the time, like when you're 16, you're like, oh, this is an adventure. This is going to be fun. Like I can do this. You're 16. You just want to like run out and do everything and nothing can hurt you. And in retrospect, I'm like, it taught me a lot, but it also, I'm always worried about the next 10 days, next 10 weeks, next 10 years. I'm always worried about like the bottom dropping out. And I guess that's good because it keeps you hustling and it keeps you working. But then do you really want to like live with that kind of fear all the time that, things are going to go back to the way they were? And, I don't, but I've tried to kind of reconcile that as best I can.
Yeah. It was funny as I was reading the book, not funny, but like, it was interesting how so many parts of what you were going through, especially at the age you were going through, resonated where I was at that same time. I remember before I was 14, my mother decided to move to Far Rockaway. Oh, yeah. She like had like kind of tricked me. She was like, and I have 2 younger siblings.
And you grew up right around here.
I grew up in Bed-Stuy.
Yeah.
So the high school, the studio that we're shooting at right now, like it's around the corner from my high school, Grand Street campus. Shout out to EBT. But before I started high school, the summer before, she's like, oh, we're going to go to like Far Rockaway to the beach. And I'm like, all right, whatever. I don't really care for beaches, but yeah, we'll go. I remember we went out there and then she took us to this house and she's like, oh, we're going to be living here. Oh, and in my head, I was like, no, you're going to be living here because I'm not living here. Only because it was like Brooklyn, especially at that time, this is pre-gentrification, pre-people like you with your beards pulling up, making artisanal mayonnaise shops. Right.
Unless they were Hasidic.
Nah, they were cool though. They were cool. But it was pre-gentrification, and so Brooklyn was dangerous. Like that's when Brooklyn had to, like when you said Brooklyn meant like you could get stabbed, not meant like you could probably run into like a writer or whatever. And so I had spent the first probably like when we had first moved here when I was 6, I spent like 4 to 5 like close to 10 years navigating the crucible of Brooklyn, of learning how to like navigate the bullies here. And like I finally was like, no, I'm home here. I'm not about to navigate like Far Rockaway and have to learn a whole new set of rules all over again and then still go to school in Brooklyn. Like, so I got to navigate no. And I was just like, nah. So I did it. What was different was I just like took it upon myself to like move in with my brother. Like I just like, like, hey.
Like in Brooklyn?
Yeah. So my brother lived in Brooklyn and I was like, hey, I watch this. Like I was just like sort of, I ingratiated myself with him. Like, hey, I watch it, I watch my nephew. And that became a thing like, oh, I'm watching my nephew. So she was like, all right, whatever. But it was sort of that same thing of like this independence at a time when you're like sort of so dependent on some sense of direction. And yet you're like creating your own sort of path. and how scary that also is at that time.
Also, people who do that, I mean, I think we both have this like very DIY approach to things.
Yeah.
I mean, I see you just go out and do stuff, and you're not waiting around for people to do it for you. And I think that's what it creates ultimately. I mean, for me, everything I do, I'm like, I got to do it myself. You know, I'm not going to wait around for someone to like give me this.
Yeah.
You know, I think if you're, I'm not saying like everyone should have to be raised that way or grow up that way, but I do think it's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Is that sort of like independence. And, you know, I mean, I'm not like live free or die independence. I'm not like,
yeah.
But I'm like, you should have that kind of like that you want to do things and you don't want to wait around to like see how they're going to tell you, somebody else is going to tell you to do it.
Right.
Because I mean, everything you do, like you were telling me, you made the design, and it's like that's how I do everything in my life. It's like I wanted to start a website, so I did, and I wanted to write a book, so I figured out how to
write it.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't work the first 2 or 3 times, but you just keep going, and sooner or later, you might not be rich, you might not be famous, but, you know, if you do things that you want to do, that's and you're happy. That's important. It's cheesy. Like people want to be like, oh, it's a corny way to live, but I'm like, no, just be happy. So much to be unhappy about in this world. Why do you want to load more stuff on yourself?
Word. So, you brought a book with you.
Yeah.
Andre
Eisenman.
Okay. Yeah. All right, I'm going to take these sunglasses off because I'm fucking up because I can't see shit. And I already got bad eyesight, so let me put these back on. Yeah. But yeah, Andre Eisenman.
Yeah.
And this is one of the first writers who, like, sort of was your entry point for literature, or?
Well, no, like, I read a lot growing up. I read, it was like escapism, like we were talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, like Dickens or Fitzgerald or Wharton or Baldwin or Didion or anything I could pick up. That stuff was all, those were the things that got me into wanting to be a writer. But, like, I think this came out like 8 years ago. I remember reading this essay and I was like, I need to start like setting goals. I need to like start looking at writers and the way they write and the things they write about and just how they construct things. And I was just so moved by this essay. He's a great writer. He wrote this book called Out of Egypt. It's about his family getting out of Egypt.
Okay.
And there's another movie that's coming out based on one of his books. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. He's wonderful. And, I tried reading like In Search of Lost Time, like Proust. It's a lot.
Okay.
And I felt like this was like a condensed modern version of that because it's this essay where he talks about the scent of lavender and how he's been like obsessed with cologne and scents his entire life. And it just moved me. I was, so it's,
So you gonna read something? Like
I could, I'll
read a paragraph. Give us a taste of what we got.
It starts out him talking about how every time he smells lavender, he thinks of his father. And it just kind of goes from there. And there's this one paragraph that I really like. And the bottles are stand-ins for me. I keep them the way the ancient Egyptians kept all their household belongings. For that day when they didn't need them in the afterlife. To part with them now is to die before my time. And yet there are times when I think there should have been many, many other bottles there. Not just bottles I lost or forgot about, but bottles I never owned. Bottles I didn't even know existed and, but for a tiny accident, might have given an entirely different scent to my life. There's a street I pass by every day, never once suspecting that in years to come it will lead to an apartment I still don't know will be mine one day. How can I not know this? Isn't there a science? And it's just basically that. It's like he takes this one thing that's so precious to him, a scent, and he just builds on it. And it's just, it kind of like goes into the way that things we experience, even for a second, just stay with us our entire lives and influence us. And it just moved me. And I was like, I got to start getting better. So I think this came out like 7-8 years ago, this book. And I just kept it on my nightstand, ever since. And I read this like a couple times a month.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So, although you highlight that as like something that stuck out to you, like reading this book, I definitely got the sense that like, I think that when we think of literature, we think of literature too literal. Yeah. Meaning that like, what first brought you into writing, it doesn't always have to be a book. And I would definitely say like how, like John Hughes' films were definitely your literature. Yeah. Like that was the way in which life was encoded and like decode, like the way you helped decode, like all of your reference points are like so and so's like a character from this film.
Yeah.
And that was the way, like, you know, I grew up watching film and listening to music, so that was my reference points were not like, you know, like a James Baldwin short story and things like that. Like my like Goodfellas is like my aim and target in essay writing is if I could write essays as good as the way Goodfellas the way Goodfellas tell stories. If I could tell a story as good as Goodfellas, I've achieved like what I wanted to do on the page.
It's lofty too, because I always say, I'm like, that's like Shakespeare of our time. That movie, that's like one of the best movies, you know, at least of the last 30 years.
Now that movie is like, but it's like the intimacy that it gives you is like that's what I wanted, and so I think with like in what you showed with the films is you really gave, I think, a language for the ways in which movies are literature as well. Yeah. Like it's not just books. That everything we take in our lives is a form of literature and is a form of writing.
I mean, I think before anything, like, you know, I was really into fiction and I started getting really into music, but I didn't want to play music. I wanted to write about music. And music sort of, when I was like a teenager, was my intro into everything. Yeah. Like that got me into, you know, it was like a lot of punk rock and a lot of hip hop. And those are two very like smart genres. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stupid in both, but there's also like, if you really boil it down, they're probably like
the smartest genres.
Yeah, of like popular music or whatever you want to call it. And I just like from there kind of like started, you know, paying attention to lyrics. Like lyrics were really what I like instrumental music, but lyrics could really grab me in. And, you know, that kind of was a big thing. The movies, you know, books and records and films, just pop culture, every little thing. And I kind of take it all in and I see how other writers work. And I appreciate that, you know, the craft, you know, I'm like, that's cool. You got your craft. I don't know. I mean, I need to drink some coffee. I gotta wake up. You know, I gotta talk to my wife in the morning. And from there, I'm like, okay, now I can write. That's my craft. I'm like, I don't have this like whole setup.
Like thing, yeah.
But I appreciate writers who do. And, you know, I also appreciate, you know, learning from other writers and seeing how they work. But I'm like, you know, I take influence from everywhere.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah. So give me some language. How would you, in your understanding, define what literature is to you? Because there's a few times in the book where you talk about, I don't want to write biographies. Yeah. I want to write literature.
That was like 20-something-year-old me.
I mean, but you know what? You know, I think every writer who wants to be taken seriously as a writer has that language of like when that person says literature, when you say you're writing literature or something is a work of literature, what are you really saying about that work?
Today or in the book? Today, I'm like, you know what? It's expression. It's like trying to dig for some deeper truth. It's trying to like answer questions. You know, it's simple. It doesn't have to be this like very deep and thought. It's, you know, we're looking to uncover truths either to tell other people, to like, you know, share with or for ourselves. You know, I mean, I think a lot of writers can be greedy and be like, I'm doing this for myself because I want to uncover things that I never understood. And I think that's fine. And it goes either way. It's just a search for, you know, I felt weird that the one word that I use to describe what I think literature is searching. You know, it's in the title of my first book, but it's true. It's searching, you know, you're searching for answers. And, you know, I think any writer that like tells you they're doing it for the art, that's fine. If they tell you they're doing it for, everyone has their different reasons, but I think ultimately you're like searching for something. You don't know what, you might not see it. You might not think it, but it's there, and you're looking for it, and you're hopefully going to find something out of all this because you spend enough hours at your desk. You know, you want it to come. You want to like produce something. Yeah.
How would now, given that language with literature, how would someone know that they're reading? The way you know you're reading or watching a John Hughes film, what language could you get for somebody who's reading a Jason Diamond piece?
I once shot myself in the foot saying this, and somebody said you should never describe your writing as this, but I'm like, I try to be as simple as possible. I'm not trying to be the smartest guy in the room. Yeah. I think there are way too many writers that they want to be the smartest person you've ever met. And I know I'm smart. I'm not, I think I'm smart. I've written for enough places and, you know, people have told me, But I don't really need to like hit you over the head and be like, I'm gonna write a chapter out of Moby Dick right now. It's gonna be, 6,000 words without a period. I'm not doing that. I mean, there are some writers who can get away with it who are brilliant, like Jonathan Latham, brilliant. Zadie Smith, brilliant. Like they're smart. They can build worlds. I can't do that. I just want to connect with people, and like it's just I think it's maybe my like Midwesternness. Like at the end of the day, I want to just. When I was a kid, I was really alone. I didn't have friends. I didn't have people to talk to, and I just wanted to connect with people. And now I'm given this opportunity to, and I think the greatest compliment I ever receive, and I receive it kind of constantly, is people say I'm very warm in my writing. I'm like, that's nice. I want to be warm. I want people to be like, yeah, you can come talk to Jason, or you can read Jason. He's not gonna, I'm not a poet. I know that. I'm not like a great wordsmith. I'm not, but I try to like offer up something that's intelligent and welcoming, and I think that's important.
I think, but that's what I think makes the book one readable, right? Because there's so many people who like cast their stories in such a language that is foreign, even though it's in English, and it's like it's not even being smart. It's like attempting something that like isn't necessary for the stories being told. It's like what you're saying and what you're doing to those people who like they can't tell the joke, so they're like telling like 8 other things, and it's like, but what's the joke? Like, what's the actual joke? It's like you seemed to be able to get out of your own way in this book and just tell the stories. Now, was this more of an editing part, or was this like you were you writing that way?
I was writing that way.
Okay.
I mean, it was about myself. So I mean, the first thing you have to do when you're writing a memoir is you have to be honest. You can't. Yeah. You got to be honest, and if you're not being honest, then it's what are you doing? You're lying. Mm-hmm. And so I had to be as honest as possible, and I had to be who I am, and I had to talk the way I talk, and I'm like, this is how I observe things, even if it's happening to me, or if it's happening around me. I feel like this is how I observe, and this is how I remember things. Yeah. And those are the two things I had to like kind of connect, and they had to become one. Like the memories had to become observations. Yeah. And the observations had to be all molded together into a story. Yeah.
So talk to us, do more career stuff. Yeah. Talk to me about like the work you and Tobias do at Volume 1. How did that start? And what started that? So you live your first how many years in Illinois?
22. Okay,
and then you came to New York at 20.
I stayed in Florida for a year. Okay. And then I stayed in Miami. And then I came, yeah.
Okay. And you came to New York. When does Volume 1 come about?
I would say 5 years. It took 5 years for that to just kind of become an idea. Okay. Like I had started blogs, and also it was sort of kind of like at the end of the giving up the John Hughes book. It just kind of became my project, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start a blog. There are always like, this was like 2008ish. Like you had the Rumpus starting out, which is a great site. Mm-hmm. You had HTML Giant, and like HTML Giant in 2008. I think one day people will write about it because you had this blogger named Roxane Gay. They're like, oh, she sounds cool. Who's that? And then you had this guy named Justin Taylor, who I think is like now today, I think one of the best short story writers we have. I think like Lindsay Hunter. You had all these like big fiction writers. Yeah. And it was just like this blog. And I'm like, I like what's happening here. I like this site, The Rumpus, where they've got, Cheryl Strayed, who I kind of knew a little bit about, who hadn't, become Cheryl Strayed. Yeah. And I was like, I'm into this. Like, I'm into this community. This is something I feel like I'm kind of becoming a part of, and I want to contribute. So I just started the website kind of on just a whim on like a July day, and just started being like, there's a news story in the New Yorker today, blog. You hit publish, like, just so you know, there's a new story in the New Yorker. It's great. Get it. It's by ... And that was it. It started that way, and then it became, I'm going to start writing like little essays. And then from little essays, it became, I'm going to just start collecting the news that I think is important today. And then just kind of it's been a blog for almost 10 years now, and I'm like, it's always going to be a blog. It's always just going to be something we do because we love it.
Mm-hmm.
And about a year or two into it, like Toby, who I kind of had some like weird connections with but had never met, but like through the punk scene, he just started writing for us, and then I just asked if he wanted to be involved, and we have very, we're similar in a lot of ways. And yeah, it's just been pretty good partnership.
So describe this punk scene, because I was reading, because I've always, like, I grew up hip-hop.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are a lot of parallels between punk and hip-hop on an aesthetic level. Like, on an existential level, I feel like the same things are working.
Well, I grew up both. I mean, I grew up, I think at the point in the 90s I grew up in, if you're going to listen to punk, you're also going to listen to hip-hop. So, I mean, you got to remember, like, I'm 13, 14, when, like, Illmatic comes out.
Okay.
And Public Enemy is like one of the groups I say changed my life. I have like these pillars of bands that changed my life. But with the punk scene, I mean, and hip hop too, there is still an underground DIY hip hop scene just as much as there is a punk scene.
Yeah.
And I think punk started technically a few years earlier and kind of got big a few years earlier, but they've always been sort of like, you always hear people like, two kinds of music I don't like. It's always either punk, hip hop, or country. It's like one of those three, two of those three. And, for me, it was like just sort of all the weird kids like the same kind of music.
Yeah.
And even if they didn't like it, they would just have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we're dangerously like sort of losing, is giving kids somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And I always had places to go because of that. Like I had DIY spaces that people would open up, and it'd be like 2 amps, and people would just plug in and they would play, and it was it wasn't like dangerous or anything. There were no like, well, actually there were no, actually, because in Illinois there are a lot of Nazis.
Oh shit! Oh yeah, you talked about the fucking Nazi march that happened through the neighborhood. Yeah. Why ain't nobody like throw nothing at them? Like they just watched that?
They stood there with candles. That was the thing. It was a silent protest.
The Nazis.
The residents of the town.
Like the Jewish
residents. Yeah.
Well, but why not? What you can't. I'm not asking you to answer. No, I'm not asking that. But
I punched a Nazi once, and I'm like, that's the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. I literally like reached in and punched the guy, and I took off. I'm like,
when was this?
It was at a protest, like in Skokie. They actually had a demonstration when I was in school, and my friends and I went, and it turned into like a big like. People were like throwing mud at them, and then they came out and started yelling, and I socked one in the head. And I was like, "Oh shit!" And I just took off. And I tell my wife that, and she's like, "You shouldn't tell people that." And then all of a sudden,
well, why not?
Because you don't want to like.
Because you don't know who Nazis are. That's the only reason.
Well, now you're starting to know. Now you're starting to know.
Yeah, you never know who's a Nazi, so you might be bragging to the wrong person. Like, oh yeah.
She's definitely not. I mean,
no, I'm not saying her. I'm saying like in general, like you might get like, yeah, we actually know a guy. He's here, y'all. And then, like, they just...
I think, though, that's, like, the big, like, difference between the hip-hop and punk scene is that the punk scene has literal Nazis that show up and start fights. And
yeah, we have those, too. We call them police.
Yeah. We have those, too.
But I want to get you to read something. This, to me, I feel like, when reading sections of books are hard, right?
Yeah.
Simply because... you want to get something that gives people enough to like something that like hones in on like who you are, but is also a great story. One of the dopest stories is the story you told about your friend who had like brought you into her family and then had taken you on a particular trip for a particular thing. And you are a fucking like a good ass friend for what you did in this section. I like
how you're setting it up too.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
You're not giving anything away.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Master of suspense.
Thank you. I try to. I've watched the best do this, but trying to figure out where is the best part to do it. But
yeah, that's it. I actually wanted to take this part out.
It's one of the best parts, though.
My editor was like, "You got to keep it in." I was like, "Okay." So that's a little.
Okay. Give me...
This is the most awkward thing, too, when you go to a reading with your own book, or you're reading anything and you like, oh crap,
where's my shit?
Yeah.
Everybody I give this to, I just want to send you in on the right note, and I don't want to have you read it too long.
That's fine. I'm an engaging reader. I can do a little dancing. And...
All right, that helps.
No, nobody wants to see that.
I think just start from give me the bottom of 68. Is it too long? No, this is rough.
That's long.
Give me I think give me to where you feel like it.
All right, let me. Yeah.
Do your thing. It's your book. I'm gonna shut up.
All right. Moving into the spare room in the Sherwins' basement, I knew I'd have to put my feelings for Alexis behind me. I should probably say up to date, like, this girl Alexis, I knew her brother, but I had a huge crush on her.
This is high school.
Yeah, this is high school.
This is after your mother goes to South Carolina.
Yeah, and I had been, like, withdrawing from whatever antidepressant I was on at the time.
You were on a lot.
I was on a lot of, And I was not feeling too well, and she kind of saved my life because she found me one night and just kind of said, nothing was going to happen, I told myself. I was a high school nothing, and she was headed to college. I'd accepted that, and it was time to be moving on. I got settled into my new living quarters. They told me that I should feel free to move things around, to make myself at home, but I didn't want to disturb anything. I learned quickly that no matter how nice the parents were, the best thing to do when living with another family, be it for a day or longer, was to not draw unnecessary attention to yourself. Using a phone card she sent me, I talked to my mom on the phone a few days during that first year on my own. Quick check-ins to say I was doing fine, school was fine, and everything was fine. By the time I turned 18, we'd completely stopped talking and wouldn't speak for the next 5 years. But while I was still technically a child, we kept some contact either out of necessity or because we held out hope our relationship would heal. And while that contact was limited, I don't remember much else of what we talked about during the first, second, or last conversation. But I remember the third one, a call right after the Sherwins and I had sat down to eat. The talk lasted about 5 minutes, and towards the end, she asked matter-of-factly, "Did you know your grandfather died a few years ago? Can you believe he didn't leave you any money?" Figures. I had not, in fact, known about my dad's father's death. That was the first anybody had told me about it, and the coldness of my mother's words hardly registered since the news put me in a daze. I don't remember saying goodbye, only that I kept the phone in my ear for a minute after she hung up, trying to collect myself. I walked into the dining room, asked to be excused from Mr. Sherwin's Saturday morning birthday brunch of pancakes and eggs that I helped cook, and went to my room. I needed to be there by myself, and the guest bedroom in the basement was all mine. It was my own little sanctuary that I shared with a bunch of objects the Sherwins didn't want, but that they didn't want to throw away either. Not wanting to be nosy, I never poked my head into the cardboard boxes with Halloween stuff, toys, grandma, and 1987 scrawled on them with black marker. But I was sometimes curious about what these things were that they just couldn't part with, even if they were stored out of sight. I didn't like it, but I was good at being alone and didn't mind the hums and cracks from the various machines and pipes that made the house run. It was always cold, but there were no windows and the walls had been painted green. It was a place to sleep, and that was all I needed. I had my clothes in a puffy sticker-covered dresser that used to belong to James, and 2 white Ralph Lauren towels that had been allotted to me, which I had hung on the hook behind the door. There was a stack of a few paperbacks I had picked up from a thrift store and a sterling silver St. Michael shield on a chain I'd found on the sidewalk, a necklace that meant good luck to somebody who believed in that sort of thing. Patron of grocers, mariners, paratroopers, police, and sickness. We could talk about what happens.
Okay. So, yeah, tell us what happened. So, basically, your mother tells you your grandfather died. This was your grandfather had been dead for many years.
Yeah, like a couple years, I think.
And so, the friend, Alexis, she tells you to go on a trip.
Yeah. And so she comes downstairs and she basically, like, a little bit into the drive said she was going to get an abortion. And I was like, oh, okay. That kind of, remembering now is like, that was like, oh, okay, weird. Wow. How do you process that when you're like a kid? And she didn't, the guy that she had gotten pregnant, the guy who got her pregnant, her parents, I don't think really liked him that much. And I looking back on it, I think she knew what she was doing, but she basically didn't want to tell her parents. Like, she didn't want to go through with it without telling her parents.
Yeah.
Which, to me, who is somebody who has, like, no relationship to this day with his parents, it was like, what? You don't want to tell your parent? You want to tell your parents about this? Like, just do it and...
Yeah, just go about your business.
But she was like, no, I got to tell them. And she just kind of convinced me to, like, go along with it and say that it was mine.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. You know, because you're 16, 17, and you're living in this person's house. And so I did. And it just, you know, they asked me to leave. And I was like, oh, that's what you get.
Did you not know that was going to happen, though?
I didn't think so.
Really?
I really didn't think so. I don't know what I thought.
Here.
I really don't know what I thought. I think deep down, I thought they were going to be like, that's really big of you for admitting this.
Yeah, that's not.
I know. No. Now I'm like, if it was me in that situation, I'd probably beat the hell out of the kid.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was just like, I thought I was doing the right thing, and it just turned out to be, you know,
it was definitely a test of your character, because I ain't gonna lie, like, you kind of had me, and I know, like, you had, like, beef with your moms, and you came from something rough, but I ain't gonna lie, when I was reading the book and you was like, you know, I hate your mom, I was like, it's that white kid, that white boy, like, just like yelling at his mom, like, hate you too, like throwing shit, and like she throws shit at you and you break shit. So I was kind of like, damn, Jason's one of those white kids. But when I saw this, I was like, this is a stand-up dude, man. No, that was a stand-up, because I don't even think, I think that sometimes you learn the type of friend you are not by what you do for your friends when it doesn't benefit you. And that was a situation that, like, there was no way that situation was going to benefit you.
Yeah. No, I realize that now. But I mean, I was always the kind of person that, I've always been this kind of person where I'm like, I do worry about myself. But I kind of like tend to worry about other people first. Just in general. I think that's like why in our current day and age in 2017, like every day I wake up feeling just like something bad is, I mean, there's always something bad happening to somebody at every moment of the day. Yeah. But just like when it feels like it's just constantly happening, I feel so much worse. Like I have a lot of like empathy. Like I just feel, I just want people to be okay. And I know that's not the way the world works, but if somebody's hurting or if somebody, I don't know what to do other than like be like, here, I'm here for you. Yeah. And but like with the fighting with my mom, people fight. I always tell people, like, my mom and I both had our problems. Yeah. Except she was an adult, I wasn't. And that's
you would like to think that,
I just like to think that it could have worked out at some point, but we still don't really talk.
Well, that's real life. Yeah. But going back to the story, so apparently she had told her parents what really happened, like 3 days after, and then they tried to find you. By that time, you were already gone. Split, and then the father had left a note for you.
Yeah, it was pretty deep. I still have it. He passed away, and he said, he said that I was a real friend. I have it in the book, but it was really. It came at a point when I needed it. Like it was like years later. It was like 7 years later, I think. Yeah. 5 years later. 6 years. I remember reading that and I was just like, damn. Okay, I guess, I feel this is nice. I feel like first he apologized. Yeah. And that to me was like very big. And the guy's dying. He was obviously like, he was holding on to something, and it meant a lot to me. And it really kind of showed me that people are, I don't want to say people are good because I feel like people aren't that great, but people have good in them and they like want to help you. And this is my whole life. I've been helped out by people, and I'm very lucky that I've found these people somehow, or they found me. Mm-hmm. And this one person who I really was like, he really helped me when I needed. He let me into his house, and then he didn't want me there anymore. I felt like he had let me down and I understand now, like. He thought,
given the situation,
but it hurt. It was like he didn't want me around anymore, and to have that apology and to have that kind of closure, it was a big moment in my life.
Right.
That was an intense chapter to write.
No, because I think it speaks to the human condition and all the dynamics of like how sometimes we do things that we don't like. We go into them naive, but it also speaks to a certain level of character at that point in time. So like, and I was like, definitely, if I kill somebody, I'm definitely bringing you.
Yeah.
I feel like you would keep it. I feel like you would hold it down for the hood. Talk to me about this Jordan collection. You got 30 pairs. I wish you was gonna wear a pair today.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm like minorly disappointed,
Right.
but you talk about the red and you wore a red and black pair, the ones.
The ones. I have a picture of me as a little kid in the first ones.
Okay.
And I mean, I've just been obsessed with Jordans my entire life, and it just, you know, when you become a homeless teen, when you don't have anywhere to live, and you're like, I don't have any money, I got everything I buy is like, you know, my mom was also pretty poor. My dad had money. My mom was pretty poor.
Yeah.
So I would go to my dad's and I'd have a pair of Jordans. I go to my mom's and I just, it was Kmart sneakers.
So wait, the Jordan stayed at his house?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That was just that's the divorce thing. I guess
that was his thing. Like
that was
the
it.
Jordans are yours between here and the door.
I had all these nice clothes at my dad's house, and my mom's house I had nothing.
So you couldn't just wear, like, if you tried to leave with it, was he like snatching you out of shit?
I had the first pumps, the Dominique Wilkins. I remember I tried walking out of the house. He's like, "You walking out of the house with those shoes?" And I was like, "No." I had to take them off and go put on my like ratty ass sneakers, and
what kind of shit is that?
It was weird.
But
like with Jordans, I tell my wife, I feel like I've like used this excuse so many times because I keep bringing in boxes, and like I have an entire closet filled with boxes with the Jumpman on it. And I have other sneakers too, but Jordan became the symbol to me because you're a kid growing up in Chicago. It's Michael Jordan. He's the greatest of all time, and the sneakers are always good. Like there's a couple.
He lost the sauce around like
the teens, somewhere in the teens, 20s.
The 15 he lost.
Was that the leather one?
That was the one that just looks like a big ass boat.
Yeah, there's some weird ones.
And I think it Hatfield, like I watched the episode. I don't know if you watched that abstract, but he explained like there was a lot going on at that time. Yeah. So that's an asterisk.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think he left after that. But I love this. The 16s were good.
Yeah.
17s were good. 18s were kind of like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
But those 20 to 23 is kind of like those are.
I mean, I've got
quiet.
The first like 10, like for me, like the Jordan.
Let's do top 5. Top 5. We're gonna do top 5 design, like top 5 Jordans of all time. Jason Diamond.
6s, number 1. I mean, I said this going in, and but this is the thing.
The infrared 6s.
Yeah, the red. I like the ones with the black and the little.
Yeah,
because I mean, those are like the ones he won the first championship in. Number 2, I'm gonna go with the ones just because they're iconic.
Which ones?
Red and black.
Okay.
I mean, also red and black is so 80s. Like, look at this. Like, it's like, and also if you have the initials MJ in the 80s, and you could rock red and black, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Red and black with the Thriller jacket.
Yeah. So we got the Breds, we got the infrareds.
I would say the 3s. The 3s I just got a couple of months ago.
Which ones?
They did the Do the Right Thing 3s.
Okay, I don't know.
I'll show you a picture.
Okay.
I got a picture.
Yeah.
Those are. I haven't worn those. I've not taken them out of the box. The one old school low with they're black and blue. They're like the low tops.
Are these now? What number are these?
Those are ones. They're old. They do the old school ones.
Okay.
And they're low tops.
Okay.
Those are sick. I got 2 pairs of those.
Okay, so we're going 4. What's the 5th one?
Damn, I don't know. Wait. The gray and blue 3s. I don't know what those are called, but they're the gray and blue. The 3s are the ones you won the dunk contest in.
Okay.
These are they're low. They're like low tops.
Okay.
But these are I always forget the names of like the different sub sneakers.
Yeah.
But they're like the body is pretty much all grayish with like little specks, and then there's like all the stuff on the sides are like blue. It's like kind of like Tar Heel colors, but a little bit darker.
Okay, I know which ones you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you my top 5. Right. Infrared 6s.
Yeah. Olympic
7s. I feel like. Those are. The first pair of Jordans I ever got was from my brother bought them the summer before 3rd grade. They were like the Carolina Blue 13s, the low top ones. So those go up there for like honorable mention. The cement 4s. I'm wearing some Toros for the recording just for your episode. But the cement 4s, the ones bugging out wears and do the right thing when he gets the sneaker stepped on. So like
those are 4. Okay, so I said 3s. Those are 4s.
Those are 4s.
Yeah.
So 4s. I've never had a pair of these, but Space Jam 11s.
Yeah, those are good.
Those are like really good. And the cement threes. Never had a pair of those either. The all black cement threes.
Oh yeah. The ones that are all and those are the first ones with the Jumpman.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like the it's got to be the shoe thing. But those are my top 5. You made my day, man, because you were the first person I got to talk about Jordans with.
I got invited like 4 or 5 months ago to Spike Lee's studio.
Oh, you did with the fly.
Yeah. No, it was for the 4s. So they did the sneakers and they had the scuff mark on it. And he handed me the box and he was like, "Here, I'll give you this one." And I was like, they were giving them out to all the people. It's like press people who were like talking about Brooklyn in the 80s.
Like giving them out like to have?
Yeah, I have a pair at home. I know.
Get the bottle.
But yeah, I haven't taken them out. My wife's like, "Why aren't you going to wear those?" I'm like, "Because these are so nice." I just don't want to. Those are the ones. I'm like, because they're white. And they look so nice, and they got the scuff. I don't want another scuff mark. They literally put the scuff mark on it.
I know. Oh, man.
And he was so nice. And he's like one of my favorite directors. And I was like, I told him, and this is my favorite. My dad took me to a Bulls-Knicks game, because my dad's from New York. So I grew up coming to New York a lot as a kid.
And he runs like a chocolate factory.
Yeah, wafer candy. It's like very immigrant.
That's kind of, yeah.
It's like a very immigrant thing, like where you just find the one thing you can make money doing. And
you just do that.
And so we came to New York and went to a Knicks game, and it was probably like 93. So it was like right at the height.
Like the height. Yeah, that's like the fucking shit.
I want to say it was like the second championship, so 92 maybe. And I was wearing all Bulls in Madison Square Garden. And my dad is like, "You shouldn't do that. And I'm like,
I like how you talking to you like his friend and not his son. Like he has to like.
Oh, yeah. But I was like, "I'm a Bulls fan." And I remember we walked past and I see this guy. I knew who he was. I'd seen his face on TV. And he goes, "Hey, kid, Bulls stink." And I looked at him like, "Oh, that's that director." And so I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get face to face with Spike Lee again." Like this is a couple months ago. I'm like, my second chance to get face to face with him, I was gonna, say something about it. And we sit down, and it was like this sort of like interview thing where he's got like me, a couple of Complex people, and a GQ guy. And the first thing Spike Lee does is he sits down across from me and all these other people and goes, "You like the Cubs, huh?" Because I got my Cubs hat on. And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "They stink right now." And I'm like, "No! He did it again!" And I was so embarrassed. But at the end of the thing, he came up to me. He was like, "Yeah, I was just fucking with you."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Thank you."
Did you tell him that you were the same kid? Like
he was so nice about it. He was like, "I used to tell a lot of kids the Bulls stink." I was like,
and what was so sad is like he really had no right to say that, because the best the Knicks had ever been in the 90s was 94. Losing.
Yeah.
In the finals.
Well,
to the Spurs.
When you go on MSG Network, every time it's either a Billy Joel concert. When it's not the Yankees or the Rangers, it's either a Billy Joel concert or March to the Finals. That show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they lose. And I love the Knicks. I got nothing. My dream now in life, now that I've seen the Cubs win the World Series, I want one day to see a Knicks championship. I just want to see it because I don't know what that's like. Breath, brother. One day, 20 years, 30 years, I will stay here as long as I have to.
I feel like we're going to see another black president before we see the next one.
Yeah, whatever.
You're not seeing that again. I don't think
one day
you're going to see. Nah.
Somebody's got to take out James Dolan. Don't take out James Dolan, but they got to get him out of there.
Like push him out the way.
Yeah.
I think that franchise went down ever since the Allen Houston knee injury.
Yeah, that was.
I think that was the demise of the Knicks.
Yeah.
Not blaming Allen Houston, but like I feel like everything they tried to do was like sort of just like close cracks as opposed to like just knock the wall down and just rebuild.
It's also the very like New York sports thing where they're always like, let's just get these high money guys and just toss them all together and like maybe it'll work. And it doesn't work.
At one point they had something with Raymond Felton and Amari Stoudemire. They was gelling.
Amari's my guy. I love Amari.
That was
my favorite.
And then they started trading everybody again. And it was just like, remember that time they had like all guards? Like it was like Steve Francis and like Stephon Marbury.
That's what the Bulls were like last year. Where I was like, you've got all these guys and none of them can shoot threes, and they're all like 6'5" to 6'7". I feel like everybody on that team is 6'5" to 6'7".
That was a bad wave. Yeah. That was a bad wave. So,
anyways,
where can people buy Searching for John Hughes? I've been saying In Search of John Hughes. These fucking sunglasses was fucking me up.
They were screwing you up.
Yeah, man. And you ain't correct me once, asshole.
Character. It's character. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm in your house.
Yeah, it's all right, man. It's all right. It's your house while you here. So where can people buy Searching for John Hughes?
I think I'm obligated. I gotta say your local indie bookstore. Go to your indie bookstore. Go buy it. You can buy it anywhere else if you want.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Okay, cool. And where can people follow you?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at I am. I should have just done I am, but it's I am Jason Diamond. Twitter, Instagram, and jasondiamond.net.
Okay. .net.
Couldn't get .com. I actually got an email from somebody named I swear to God, her name was Buffy something. It was the waspiest.
Buffy the Body.
Yeah, it was the waspiest New England name. She's just want to let you know that diamondjason.com is going to be available. If you want to buy it, you should talk to me. And I was like, what? No. Why do I want Diamond Jason? So I didn't buy that.
Okay.
So jasondiamond.net.
All right, cool. And any new projects that you're working on that you're excited about that you want to share with the people?
Top secret.
Top secret.
Can't yet.
G14 classified.
Can't talk.
That's a Rush Hour reference for people who don't know.
Good stuff.
That's
good.
It's
the next book actually. It's about Rush Hour.
And events. What events you got coming up? Any readings? Anything?
This week, I think.
Brooklyn Book Festival.
Yeah, I'm doing. I think Thursday night, I'm interviewing this guy named Matthew Newton, who put out one of those object lessons books. You ever seen those?
No.
They're really they're all black with a design on it. Just one thing. It's and it's whatever the book is about. It's one book. The one that I really liked was about hoods, literally hoodies.
Okay.
And it's 20,000 word essays in a book, and he did it on shopping malls. So I'm interviewing him about that.
Okay.
And then 10, 11. This is a project that we're doing. Greatest 3-minute story series at Housing Works, and it's celebrity stories.
Oh.
And it's going to be good. We got a good lineup.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. All right, man. So this has been... Oh, shit. I'm fucking up. For coming on Lit.
What's this?
You watched enough episodes, you should know.
Oh, is it the button?
Just the pin, man.
Ah! I actually need the one of you.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's yours.
I needed a new one because I on my Instagram, I showed all my jackets with all my buttons on it.
Yeah.
And I'm I needed one more from one of my jackets. It's so sweet.
So that's it. And your name is on it too. So
shit.
know, well, on the back, on the thing.
Oh man, thank you.
So before you get out of here, your literary swag.
All right.
Has it changed?
It changes all the time.
All right, so give it to me now. Currently, what's Jason Diamond's literary swag looking like?
All right, so the writers.
Yeah.
Right now, Fran Lebowitz. I just watched the documentary on her. She's always good. Donna Tartt.
Okay.
Because I just, for some reason, had to sit down and reread The Secret History, which don't suggest sitting down and rereading that because it's a long ass book.
Okay.
Oh God, I think you were talking about this book. The essays, something about You Play the Girl.
Oh, Karina Chicano.
I just finished it the other day.
Oh,
so good.
She's bad.
So I'm putting that in there right now.
Okay.
I'm putting that in there right now because the essay about celebrity gothic.
Yes.
The whole book is brilliant.
Yeah. The Alice in Wonderland shit. She's operating on a different level.
It's been a good year for essays. Sachi, obviously, and Miss Risa. It's been some good ones. But yeah, so those are my three right now.
Your three. And what's the swag?
Steve Allen, vintage Ralph Lauren. I don't like new Ralph Lauren. And I'll go with Jordans.
All right.
Even though I didn't wear them today. I'm sorry.
Man, it's so cool, man. You showed up. That was the best part. So I'm going to put these sunglasses on because we ended now. This has been another episode of Lit. Follow us at Lit Platform. Follow the production company at Pink Pig Pro. Follow me at Yadon. If you're around this week, make sure you come out to the Brooklyn Book Festival. I'm going to be there. Jason's going to be there. Make sure you go to his event. Make sure you're buying the book. Make sure you're mixing up the Marduces. Do say we need a sponsorship, baby. Holla at us. It's Lit. We out.